It is impossible to stay invested. In mutual funds, only two people have earned money. One who's lost his or her account statement, the second who's dead. Everybody who says they don't have time for understanding or reading investment seem to have a lot of time doing other things. 95% of wealth is created on asset allocation. 5% of your wealth is created on market action. 95% of discussion happens on market action. Only 5% happens on asset allocation. We are so lucky to be in this country at this point of time. No other country has the safety net that we have at this moment. We don't have half the problems that the world has. We will be the third largest economy in the world.
Do you think there are certain sectors where you feel like it's India's decade now?
I was sitting with my mom and she was telling, but my healthcare fund has done well. What should I do? I said, sit. It's the beginning.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Power Talks. Today we have with us Swarup Mohanty, the CEO and Vice Chairman of MiraeAsset Investment Managers. Swarup, first of all, thank you so much for taking out the time and welcome to Power Talks. So tell us more on your early investment journey. How was that like?
First of all, thank you so much for doing this for us, coming all the way from Bangalore and doing it in an office. An absolute pleasure. Yeah, investing is a journey and everybody's journey is their own. So everybody tries to find a way. When you start your career and you think of being part of this industry, you sort of think that you know. But the market is smarter than you. It slowly but surely teaches you that you don't know anything. And that happened to me earlier. Earlier, I used to, through my limited knowledge, started investing in my own way. And invariably, most of them didn't go the way I wanted. And then you have this self-realization that things are not going the way you want. What should you do? Then you start reading, right? And there has to be a sense of responsibility also. And I think that happened when my son was born. Something clicked.
Okay.
And then I started taking investing very seriously. They say first you take off some part of your take-home salary and then you spend. So that started. That when my salary came, first I would keep aside something for my investments. Okay. But then that journey was also in that people cliched thing of wealth creation or return generation, whatever. But a friend of mine became a private banking head. And he had gone to Geneva for receiving an award. I asked him, how is it different? He said, all private bankers, when they own a portfolio, are above 40.
Okay.
And below 40, they're not allowed to. I said, what are you saying? India is a young country, right? And he said something very interesting. The ability to hold allocation, according to their studies, comes after 40.
Okay.
And that also coincided with my life. It's not, I can't say why, but it's only when I became 40 that I changed my portfolio to a goal.
Okay.
As late as that, okay. But once I changed it to a goal, everything changed for me. Now my investment journey is so smooth. I have a back-end formula to it. The goal is most important than where I'm invested in. It doesn't matter where I'm invested in, as long as the goal is on track.
Got it. So you said after 40 your portfolio changed to a goal. So was it like a set of series of goal, one big goal? How does it work like?
So invariably there were 2-3 big life goals at that point of time. I think the biggest was my son's education. And luckily for me, he studied in India. So my capital outlay was lesser than a lot of my friends whose kids went abroad, and that is by his desire. I'm just a facilitator there. If he would have gone abroad, I would have paid, but the dent to my portfolio would have been larger, right? So that was the largest that I thought. And incidentally, he was nearing his education, whatever he was about to, and this was before COVID. For some reason, I had learned something about a glide path, investing and all that.
Okay.
And I was not waiting for the last day, redeemed some money, and COVID happened.
Oh.
Just imagine if I would have kept the money towards the last day to pay, and the markets crashed 40%.
Yeah.
See, all this you learn by experience.
Correct.
So by luck, I got saved on that one. But going forward, I will not let that happen. But yeah, that was one large goal. We kept aside some money for our household expenses.
Okay.
And all that was happening after we cut off something. I started around 20% of my take home to invest for sure.
Okay.
But I was very early into NPS also.
Okay.
So the percentage of money was fairly okay by that time. But once my son's education was complete, then I have just one goal left in my life. That's my retirement. And I'm a paranoid retirement kitty person. So there I think I'm pretty serious about how much I want to accumulate.
Got it. So are you technically are you retired?
No. Why should I retire? See, it's a thing. Okay, a lot of people say you should retire. You should retire when you don't like doing what you're doing.
Yeah, but are you financially free rather?
Not yet, because the goalpost has changed.
Right.
Two goalposts, not my financial, not that my life has changed, but the realization that we might live longer came a little late too. And so most of us plan our retirements, or at least I was planning my retirement for 75, 80 years. What if I live longer?
Fair.
And at that point of time, when you're physically not exactly your prime, your only friend is money.
Right.
So that I had to review that, and it became a little more higher. Then by choice now I want to stay in Mumbai. And Mumbai is not a cheap city.
Yeah.
So these got added to life. So when you start putting these realities into your financial plan, then the goalpost changes, and when goalpost changes at a later age in your life, the pressure to invest more also changes.
Correct. And because you said, when you started investing later in life, the proper goal-based investing, did you have to make certain drastic changes to sort of compensate for, starting late? Why I ask this is because I think all of us, watching this video would also somewhere feel that they are late. So what should I do now to compensate for the years that I missed?
So I didn't start late. I started late in building a goal-based plan. Earlier I used to invest, but this is mindless investing. A lot of people say that I want to create wealth. If you define the wealth you want to create, then everything changes. Right? Then you can build a portfolio for that wealth. Otherwise you are investing as per the other person. Oh, that fund is doing well, let me also invest. What if that fund is not suited for me? Right? It's only when you put a certain amount that from that amount you can derive a percentage return that you want. Once you know the percentage return that you want, then you can allocate accordingly, right? It simplifies the process. That I started at 40.
Okay.
And then subsequently, life also has changed a bit, because this whole thing that I would live in Mumbai has added a huge to that thing to that bottom line. But from investing 20% of my takeoff, because of the pressure, not pressure actually, because of what I want.
Choices.
It's gone up to almost 35% of my take-home salary.
Got it. No, I think that's important, the nuances that you raise, right? I think as life progresses, right, these changing goalposts and, things that hit you, like you might live longer and planning for that, right? I think they change how you are planning your finances fundamentally. So, from an Indian household perspective, right, for any 30, 35-year-old out there, how would you suggest him or her to plan investing in a goal-based fashion for someone who is starting off their, life?
See, first of all, the whole process is called personal finance. Right? Everybody's finance is personal, and everybody's finance is different. Right? So there is no one set rule for anybody, and that's the beauty of our jobs. Right? So one thing that I request everybody to do is analyze yourself first. Investing is also a journey of understanding and realizing yourself. Because first is it will clarify your needs. It will also set a differentiation between your need and your want. I think COVID was that situation where we clearly could differentiate between what is your need and your want. None of the wants were available for us, but our life was okay.
And we realized we needed so little actually.
But I expected things to fall in place post-COVID, but the want segment just opened up dramatically post. So people came out with that thing that kal ho na ho, let me live life, which is great, nothing wrong with it. But I think sooner you differentiate, better for you, and set your own goals. It's your life, right? So that is first. Once you set the goal, you know how much return you want for those goals. You can allocate your money, and then more important, allocating all that is the easiest part. Finish, okay, you Google a bit, or you come to you, do your own thing, you'll do an allocation. After that starts the most difficult part of staying invested. Staying the course. All it requires is discipline. But to be disciplined is impossible. Right? In mutual funds, only two people have earned money. One who's lost his or her account statement. The second who's dead. It is impossible to stay invested.
Hmm.
But staying invested comes with experience, comes with learning.
Yeah.
Once you cross that threshold of staying invested or sticking to your asset allocation, I'm saying that suppose you are invested in an equity scheme which you don't like, then you redeem that equity scheme but get back to another equity
Yes.
scheme. That is staying invested,
Yeah.
right? So once you do that, comes this big part of reviewing your portfolio. I mean, I do that yearly.
Yearly, okay.
Yeah, if I'm on course, no problem. I don't care about anything else. But if I'm not on course, then I have certain rules of how much I will bear with a fund house, or I read up. See, please understand it's your money.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of your money, the money will not take care of you. So you have to read. You have to educate. Even if you come to an advisor, distributor, or anybody who suggested something, then you have to do your homework also, or where you are invested.
That's right.
Enough people I meet, oh, I'm invested in one of your funds. Which fund? I'll tell you. If I ask you the model of your car, you will know.
Yeah.
Right? You will know which model phone you own.
Yes.
13 Pro Max. How can that happen?
True.
Right? So, once you do that and you follow this simple process, there is no rocket science. And then the day you reach your goal, please, that day redeem and enjoy them.
Enjoy.
That's what you've done. So
That's simple.
you follow that simple process, life can become very fruitful and you can actually lead a far better life, is my opinion. See, money, you need money.
Yeah.
The sooner you acknowledge and internalize it, better for you.
Fair, fair. I think you've simplified it to the core, and I think the framework is beautiful, right? Define a goal, work backwards. How much is the time frame? How much is the returns you need, and then invest accordingly.
Simple.
Right? That's just a medium to.
If I need 7% return, can put it on bank FD, no?
Yeah.
Why get into this whole complicated world?
Fair.
So till you don't need what you do not realize what you need, you cannot find out where to invest.
Right. No, that's very powerful. But just on the contrary, right? Me as a retail investor, it doesn't feel as easy to pick a particular asset class because there's just so many out there, and even within mutual funds, right? ETFs, there are active funds, there are thematic funds. Recently, SIFs, have come up.
Correct.
How do you navigate through that? What's like?
I think every asset class has its own nuance, has its own risk profile. As a beginner, I should learn those nuances and risk profiles. So start at the base. If you are a beginner, I would really, there are three basic asset classes that you invest on the financial side. One is equity, one is debt, and now the commodities. Commodities in the shape of gold, or now silver probably. Every family in India is well versed with gold investing. Yeah. But that's been on the physical side. If you see last year's Gold Council ad, they've started talking about gold ETFs.
Yes.
Right? If Gold Council is advising you to buy gold ETFs, it just spells how the future can be. My only request is, especially if I come from the East, so we are fascinated by gold. Nothing wrong in buying gold. But the amount of gold that lies in your locker is a waste. That part should be owned in the financial assets. The day you want to buy jewelry, sell that and go and buy jewelry. But if you're, for a lot of people my age, who save up for their daughter or their daughter-in-laws, the daughter and daughter-in-law is not going to wear that design that you're saving up.
Yeah, I can vouch for that,
Yes.
being a daughter-in-law
Exactly.
myself.
Those designs are outdated, right? So I would rather give a gold ETF to my daughter-in-law than that jewelry, and let her buy what she wants.
Fair.
Right? The liquidity is there. So these come by simple reading up and basic common knowledge, right? Common sense, I would prefer. So, but the nature of gold is very different. Every time to go buy gold, it is expensive.
Right.
Right? You have to understand. If you're going to wait for timing gold market, very difficult to time gold market. When you look at equity, it is a volatile asset. Understanding that volatility is the opportunity takes time. So first, invest in broad-based products.
Okay.
Buy a gold ETF, buy a simple debt fund, buy a diversified equity fund or the index.
Okay.
Get to understand the risk profile of each product. When we start as investors, we think it is a return generating process. It is actually a risk mitigating process. The closer your investment is to your risk profile, the better the investment journey. Easier said than done. It takes a long time to realize this, but it's a journey. It'll happen.
Yeah.
But the moment you are unhappy about some investments, then you should get out, because that's not your risk profile.
Got it.
And everybody's risk profile is correct. Right?
Each his own.
I am not my neighbor's risk profile.
Yeah.
Or nor am I my wife's risk profile. Nor am I my son's risk profile. If you see the three of us, the three portfolios have got nothing in common with each other. The funds which my son carries, I would say, who will buy those funds? If you look at my side, why should you build a portfolio only on those schemes? But that's suiting him.
Got it.
Right? And all this will take time. But start understanding the risk profile of each product. As you become more and more conversant with that risk profile, you start graduating on those products. From a broad market product, you can go to sectors or themes, or within those, from a large cap to a small cap, whatever, but understand the nuances of each product.
Right. So start broad, understand where your risk lies, and then go into niche if you...
See, there is nothing called lost time. If you lose time like me, then you have to invest a little bit more. Right? Don't get hassled that am I investing at the right time or is time run. Nothing runs out. There is opportunity all the time.
Right. I think that's important, because it's often, we talk about buy the dip, but it's not possible, at every time to time it so well, and rather...
if any fund manager knew the right time of the product, of the time in the market, he or she would not be a salaried individual.
Yeah. True.
The market is smarter than you. See, for the sake of repetition, you will get this on a lot of prints that I do, is that 95% of wealth is created on asset allocation. 5% of your wealth is created on market action. 95% of discussion happens on market action. Only 5% happens on asset allocation. If you change it to your asset allocation, that is your control.
Yeah.
See, you have to control the controllable. The only controllable is my behavior. And my behavior is my asset allocation.
Right.
Right? If I knew the markets, I wouldn't be a salaried individual. I would be running the market.
Fair.
But if I control my asset allocation, the outcome is more predictable.
Right. No, fair. I think that's such a powerful statement, right? 95% is actually your allocation. You are controlling.
Anywhere you go, अरे बाजार क्या लगता है?
Yeah.
How do I know?
I think वो small talk होता है, and that's why we often talk about, stocks are so sexy to talk about कि, okay, आज इतना बड़ा, आज इतना कम हुआ, but mutual funds, where you actually stay invested for a long time, they're not as sexy, and hence people don't talk about it.
The more boring you make this process, the more wealth you create.
That's true.
The less time you think about your portfolio, the more money you're making.
That's true.
If you have to think about your portfolio every day, then something is wrong with the portfolio.
That's true. No, fair point. And with, India becoming the 4th largest economy, what's your view on Indian market? Like, do you think there are certain sectors where you feel like it's India's decade now? Like, what are your views?
See, first of all, and we need to, first you have to believe something, and second step it is to internalize it. It's not about believing. It is the truth that you're so lucky to be in this country at this point of time. Right? No other country has the safety net that we have at this moment. We don't have half the problems which the world has. Right? There is absolute secular unity in the thought that India is a growth asset. And everybody wants in this country.
Yeah.
We are from South Korea. And I'm very happy to say, and this is purely data driven, we are owned by a fund manager, Mr. Hyunju Park. And his view on India is so, what can I say, one-sided. Sometimes I think, what is he seeing that I am not able to see? But probably he's seeing it from outside. And when he's putting everything in front of him, he's able to see how big this entire prospect is. See, while some of us, we say India should grow at 6%, below 6% is an issue. There's our house view also. Rest of the world is growing at 1.5–2%. And we are not happy with below 6%. Right? That's the difference. When I was your age, if somebody would have told me that we would be bigger than Japan as an economy, I would have said, take a walk. I was saying. but we will be the third largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
You are the only economy which will double its size in the next 7-8 years.
Yeah.
If things slow down, maybe 10 years.
Hmm.
But that doubling is happening. In that doubling, you look at your city called Bangalore and you look at this city called Mumbai, it as if there is a treasure hunt going on. Every city has been dug up.
Yeah.
Every city is being built new. And look at your city from what I was just discussing. That city used to be MG Road only when we were young. Today it's reached the new airport also, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's happening to every part of this country. Growth from infrastructure to clean energy. This country in its best phase of growth, which will mean a huge amount of pollution, is committing to net zero by 2070, I'm told, right? So the consciousness of keeping it clean is also there. So the powers to be also know what they're doing, right? What started in the mid-80s of liberalizing this country has continuously held its ground on reforms. And look at where we stand today. 60% of world population under 30 is in India. Project this 10 years later, there'll be Indians everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? And this simple advice that our parents had given us, you do whatever, first finish your education, now leads to the fact that we are the largest educated mass of the world. And that has its own implications in the next 8, 10, 20 years, right?
Fair.
So these are very simple things. So when you look at what can happen to this country, starting from, say, the core of every economy, banking, to, say, my favorite remains healthcare.
Yeah.
Because healthcare is just about starting in India. And then look at the change in hospitals over the last 8, 10 years. They're there in front of you. And it's a no-brainer, actually. I was sitting with my mom and she was telling, but my healthcare fund has done well. What should I do? I said, sit. It's the beginning. Consumption is the whole thing today. I mean, we used to run this presentation that it's no longer a big thing, and I'm being, in all humility, making this statement that buying a small car is no longer a pride. Today, newspaper article says that small car sales are now going down. The big sedans are now the base car. So we are now moving from what used to be a low and mid-level consumer to a mid and high-level consumer.
Right.
Right. And then, see, we used to be 69% low income in 2005 or 6. Will be reduced to 15% low income by 2030. The number of people who have crossed to become middle income is probably the largest in the world.
Right.
So money is being created in this country, both at a middle level as well as the top end level, and all this is driving the growth that we are seeing around. But in the last 8-10 years, and this what I feel is that India is rightfully shifting from what used to be an FI country, foreign institutional investors, to a foreign direct investment country, FDI country, right? And in that gives the birth of manufacturing. If I were to sit on something for the next 8-10 years, it would be the India manufacturing story. Please don't compare our manufacturing story to any other country. We need growth year on year to fulfill our requirements, and the growth year on year will happening. So across sectors, from financials to consumption to healthcare to manufacturing to clean energy, opportunities are everywhere.
Right.
For a fund manager, he or she needs 50-60 good companies. At any point of time, there are more than 50-60 good companies available for you. Now, there are two ways of looking at it. Say the Sensex, suppose, is 80,000 today. Either you look at Sensex 80,000 or you look at India at 8 trillion. Will define your behavior. You decide what you want to do.
Right. No, I think fairly said, and there are pockets across everything, because as a country we are growing, right? And you spoke about the demographic dividend, right? I think India is very poised there. I personally have this opinion and this take on Indian demographics ki we have like a huge youth population, right? And comparing with China, just in terms of the number of people, right? The GDP per capita still stays very low in India compared to, China, it's 10x. What is your view on that? Like, will it lead to more divide, or will the whole country grow together?
No, I think, see, the disparity of wealth across the world is growing. I think that is where the need to investing has to be higher. Okay, it's never about how much you earn. It's about how much you invest. Please understand one sad truth about India. When you look at any economy, in every economy, the rich are getting richer, the rest are being left behind. A good economy safeguards broad population of the people through a pension plan. In India, the pension plan is available to government employees.
Yes.
Though there is NPS and now there is the unified pension scheme, but there is so much of education to be done on pension. In the absence of that, the need to invest is probably the first need. But people have to understand this need. Sadly, people find it more worthwhile to check for a new mobile phone at this moment because it's an aspiration, nothing wrong, nothing right. But don't have that much of time to where to invest or why to invest.
Right.
That change is my expectation from all of you. And the young, I feel, can take to it far quicker than my generation. It's the best brain in the world, the young of India, right?
Yeah.
They just make this small change in their life. And what can come back to them due to the compounding of the nature of that whole process can make their lives so superior to anybody in the world. To answer your question, it is a fact that our GDP is low. It is also a fact that we are not as spendthrift as our counterparts in the world. Bringing back to that logic that it's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you spend or invest.
Yeah.
To be fair to the young, and this I think is the advent of the payment gateways, we use more payment gateway than the credit cards. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's true.
That means you're spending your own money. You're not in debt. Debt can be a killer.
Fair.
Right? As long as you're spending your own money, you're okay. And I track that figure a lot. There the Indian behavior is still intact. See, they might look different, but they have a certain sanity about their brain. Look at y'all. Your insecurity is being taken care of by the grandparents.
Yeah.
Your standard of life is taken care of by the parents. So you are free.
Yeah.
Hence, combine your risk-taking ability to your knowledge, You are that killer product that is there, right? So your behavior can define everything for the future of the country.
True.
I think the behavior is okay, if you ask me. My son's 26, so I observe a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
But it's just fantastic to say how they're going about expressing themselves.
Yeah.
Prior to your generation, I don't think we expressed ourselves enough.
No, I think, you also bring this unique perspective. You've been in this industry for 3 decades, like over 3 decades. So you've seen different generations investing. What I see around me is also to some extent driven by FOMO as well, that, okay, XYZ is also investing, let me do that. And that's why we often observe that, your AUM is chasing the returns. So this sector rallied, okay, let's invest, right? I think that's what short-term nature of this generation is. Let me get some quick returns. What's, in your opinion, what's the big mistake that these 20, 30-year-olds are doing?
I don't use the word mistake ever.
Okay.
I also went through that phase. I was a brash return chaser. But you learn. Investing is a learning process. And I think the young will learn quicker than we did. Primarily because the information available to y'all is far superior to the information. We came from pre-internet era. Now you have the phone.
Right.
And people like you actually can reach them faster through the tech than we could in our physical world. Right? It needed a phone call, it needed a physical meeting. You all don't need that. One nudge here, there can show people what they're doing. And thankfully, today, because of the upgradation of tech, a lot of this is happening. So the change in behavior in your generation will be far quicker than it was in mine. And then it's a switch on, switch off for you all. Because, forgive me for saying it, I think the emotion level is far lesser at your level than it was with us. You all can exit a space far quicker, and that's your quality, that's your biggest advantage. We hold on to useless stuff for ages. It's not needed. Come to my house. I hoard so many things which I will not touch for 10 years. This generation will not be like that. If there is one laptop which you have not used, you can discard it. I'll be keeping that. I have not given up any phone that I have used in my entire life. All my phones are somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Because I am telling them there's data there which somebody can take. What data will anybody take? But the point I make is thought process is so different that you all will adapt far quicker and change far quicker than we did. And that swiftness, is very important to investing.
On that note, Swarup, what's your portfolio like, and has it changed recently?
It's changed. See, first of all, when you're pushing for a retirement kitty, my portfolio, my wife's portfolio, and my son's portfolio are three different, right? 3 stages of life. My wife and me are on the same stage in life, but her risk profile and my profile are very different.
Okay.
Right,
Are you the risky one?
Maybe a little, yes. But see, the realization that data says that 80% of married women live longer than their husbands. 80%, okay. So, data-wise, and I'll be happy if she lives longer than me, she will need more money than me, right? So, that portfolio is made like that. My portfolio, I'm a paranoid retirement person, like I said, because if I slog for 40 years or 35, 40 years, then I want a better life after that. I want a far superior life than what I'm leading now. It's my opinion of my retirement.
Right.
And the realization that if I need that, then I have to be healthier. So my son taught me that. So I've started taking the path of becoming healthier also, right? But I started with a 60-40 breakup, 60 equity, 40 large cap, 60-40 debt. But then, like I said, Mumbai and longevity of life came in, so the retirement kitty went up a little. So I went up 70-30. At this moment, it's 70% equity, 20% debt. And we had thought of a threshold, safety threshold. Once we crossed that threshold, we had decided we'll start owning riskier assets. So 10% is now in alternatives. Alternatives and collectibles. That's my spread. But the mix of 70% equity has changed. It used to be 70-80% large cap at one point of time. It's come down to 60% large cap. I think going forward, it will be 50 and rest 50.
The rest 50 will be mid and small.
I'm a big fan of thematics.
So
I take a lot, like healthcare is my core portfolio. At this moment, when IT stocks are available at the best bargain, I'm accumulating IT. So because I feel thematic portfolios are built of far stronger companies than small caps. So I play the thematic role more than my portfolio return expectation is 12%, 11 to 12%. So I don't, for the retirement, I cannot take a downside risk. I need that money there. So small cap can give you downside. Between me and my mother is a retired professor with pension. She invests in small caps. I am creating a pension, so I don't invest. So nothing wrong. Does not make her a superior investor or make me an inferior. It's just the portfolio perspective.
Right. But wouldn't you think thematic also would have a downside? I mean, can go either ways?
See, sectors have a downside. Themes grow. And themes go perpetually. 16 years ago, when we launched consumption, this was practically FMCG. Today there is nothing called everything is consumption, right? In 2000, when we launched tech, it's primarily IT. Then one fund took a bank. And we said that, returns are not coming here, it's gone and bought a bank. They wrote out a note how banks are now tech companies. In 2001-2, I'm talking about. It started with, did you go to your bank to open your bank account? You have a realization, I didn't go. Earlier you had to go to a bank, right? So tech is no longer just IT, right? When we launched the healthcare fund, say 5 years ago, it was primarily pharma. Today, healthcare is a broad theme unfolding. I think the future lies in fitness. The industry that will unfold on fitness itself can have a fund. But that will be a subset of healthcare. If you look at the beginning of my career, our fund fact sheet used to read banks. Then it became banks, NBFCs. Then it became bank, NBFCs, financials. Now bank, NBFC, financials, payments, fintech, right?
Right.
And probably then it will be AI fintech, whatever, robot, whatever. In healthcare hospitals today, which is not there. So sectors can be cyclical,
Right.
but themes grow.
That's
We have a very interesting lithium fund in our Global X US platform. The lithium fund is in 10th year.
okay.
Their social media fund came into existence before Facebook, not Facebook IPO,
Okay.
before Facebook.
Wow.
Somebody who's held lithium then will start unfolding now.
Right.
Now suddenly that lithium has taken shape into car manufacturers. Right? So I prefer taking that route because it's exciting to, like say today manufacturing. Next 15 years, India will manufacture everything.
Right. Yeah, possibly.
If out of 100 iPhones, 20 iPhones are already from India,
Yeah.
and the US government is making a hue and cry about it, means something about India manufacturing is beginning to happen. You identify it early and sit on it. No, next 10, 20 years will create wealth.
Fair, fair. And as a retail investor, right? I'm talking retail because often with our 9 to 5 jobs, we don't have so much time to study about a particular theme. Do you think that is something that retail investors should explore more?
I had an argument on this day before yesterday,
Okay.
and somebody disagreed with me. And I'm just being honest, don't take me otherwise. Everybody who says they don't have time for understanding or reading investment seem to have a lot of time doing other things. This is your most important part of your life.
Fair.
Right? Either you don't want to do it, that's a separate issue. If you don't want to do it, there are professionals who will do it. Please, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not finding time, then probably it's the biggest disservice you're doing to yourself.
Right.
Somebody who's saying that, is not understanding the risks that one is carrying for life now. You can't afford to do that anymore, is what I'm saying. Sorry if I'm being harsh, but that's the truth.
No, I think it brings perspective, right? I think understanding about your money is the most important thing.
And it does not need a lot of time. I mean, you're taking a train, in Bangalore, you take a cab or something, you have a lot of time.
Fair. It's about priorities.
Either you watch reels or you do this.
Yeah.
The whole world has enough time for reels now. Correct me.
Fair.
So please, you have to put this in perspective and make this, somebody said that, make the most important thing your most important thing.
Yeah.
At this moment, see, there is a risk to investing. There is a risk to not investing.
Yeah.
The risk to not investing now is substantially high. Sooner we understand it, and the process is very simple. There is no rocket science to this whole thing. Of course, guys like me will come and tell you that there is rocket science to remain relevant and important, but there is no rocket science. It's just half an hour a day is all you need. Just read up.
On that note, do you have like a go-to book that you would recommend to people who are in their investment journey, early investment journey?
I think I read certain people. I think I've read enough of Warren Buffett to start with. Then when I read John Bogle, it's just the opposite of what Warren Buffett said. Exactly the opposite. He was practically thrashing what Warren Buffett has said. And he's making enough money from the same underlying. I read a lot of Nick Mirae because he's probably one of the best financial writers that I've seen. I read a lot of Mark Mobius also.
Okay.
Right. So and today the internet, you don't need a book. You just type them, you'll get enough that you need. So the advantage of internet. Just understand the simplicity they bring to the process.
Got it.
The simpler you make this process, the more boring you make it, the more unemotional you make it, the more mathematical you make it, the more money you make.
Right.
But you have to, and everybody will start reading somebody who they like. Right?
Fair.
But bring back that reading about money. If you don't do it for the sake of reputation, the risks are very high.
Yeah, I think I like the line, investing is a risk, not investing is a risk, and you choose your own. So I think that's
Same
very
line,
important.
Investing in India is a risk, not investing in India. Not investing is a bigger risk.
Yeah. No, that's.
But on that note, though we have talked about equity a lot, the question I'm asking myself today is that on 10 years, gold is outperforming equity. Right?
Right.
So then this cliched advice that 10% to gold,
Yeah.
is that right or wrong?
Hmm.
Globally, no. Most of the retiral monies or most of the core money go into multi-assets.
Okay.
Over a period of time, the median return of multi-assets on backtesting is actually higher than pure equity.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, see, I can't say, I can get away saying that, I didn't know this, there was no data. But now data is there.
Right.
It's better to.
So it's also a good way to have exposure and, still protect downside to some extent.
I've changed my own thinking that instead of starting with, say, a Nifty 50, one can start with a multi-asset fund.
I think I agree. It's a good start to get exposure to everything, and you will know what is your risk appetite like, and then probably double down.
True.
So I think, Swarup, so many advice, so many learnings in this conversation. I think one final note and, to wrap up this conversation on is, what is like that one final advice that you would give to the audience out there? One mistake that you see, this generation doing, or rather, I'll not use the word mistake, but one thing you observe that, they should be more mindful of and, sort of get the most of India's next decade.
So I think what I said, I'll just summarize, is you're probably the best time of your life to be in this country. Understand the importance of that and make good that. But just that statement, I think the young are capable of making their own inferences. The capital markets have become very easy to access and invest. Understand the power of that and utilize to enhance your life. Okay. At the end of the day, to young, I have 4 words which an ex-boss of mine told me. 4 very powerful words: read more, meet more. You do these 4 words, your life is taken care of. But, understand the need for investing early. The earlier you realize it, the easier the journey is. Otherwise, you'll be, at my age, pushed to almost 40% of your take home into investments because of your goals being serious, right? So, if I would have invested 500 rupees per month at the age of 25, 26, I would have been financially free today.
Yeah, that's the power of compounding.
Yes.
I think perfect note to end this conversation, Swarup. Thank you so much for taking out the time. I learned so much and pleasure.
No, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.